Ken Powell, John Boehner, economic advisor Larry Summers firing off a letter to the top House Republicans. Summers telling Boehner that stimulus is indeed working in response to Boehner's letter saying that it is not working. My next guest asking, well, if it is working, why are 10% in this country not working? Former Hewlett-Packard CEO Carly Fiorina. She's also a possible Republican candidate for U.S. Senate. Joins me out of California. Carly, I'd be remiss if I didn't first ask you how you were feeling. I know you were dealing with breast cancer. Do you mind my asking how you're doing?
No, not at all. In fact, the last time I spoke with you, Neil, I was just beginning my battle with breast cancer, and today I have concluded successfully my battle with breast cancer, so it's great to be back with you. I am a survivor and glad to be back.
I think the disease was afraid of you, Carly. So I'm very glad that's well. I did not mean to bring up a personal matter, but a lot of folks were worried.
No.
A lot of folks worried about the economy too, Carly, the 10% unemployment that you alluded to. Yet Larry Summers saying stimulus is doing the job. It'd be a lot worse, I'm paraphrasing here, if we didn't have it. What do you think?
Well, you know, way back in March when I talked with you and others at Fox News, I said that what we needed to be focusing our attention on is job creation and access to credit, and that the stimulus bill didn't do enough of either. And here we are now in October, and in fact we continue to lose jobs. The unemployment rate here in California is around 12%. It's not getting better, it's getting worse. In some parts of the state, particularly hard-hit agriculture, for example, it approaches 20%. There are lots of people in this country who are still losing their jobs, and in particular, I said we needed to focus on small business because it employs half the people in this country, creates 2/3 of the new jobs, and small businesses in particular do not yet have access to sufficient credit despite the big Wall Street bailout. So it hasn't worked for the people who count, and that is the working people of this country.
You know, you are in that group of Republican former business titans who are what they call compromisers, or those who try to hammer out deals. I mean, of course, you're associated and were a big economic advisor to John McCain when he was running, who was known for being a bit of an iconoclast or a maverick for that very reason. I had Bob Dole on this show last week, Carly, grimacing at the fact that Republicans are not acting that way, that they're more inclined to have a view our way or the highway, and that while it might gain them short-term victories, longer term it will hurt them. What do you say?
Well, I'm not going to speak for the whole party. I'll just speak for myself. First, my approach to problem solving is to start with the facts. What are the facts? Then say, what is it we're trying to achieve? And then pick the solutions, whoever they come from, wherever they come from, that achieve the goals given the facts. And once you've done that, of course, you have to build common ground in order to be able to implement a solution.
But there's none of that going on. But see, there's none of that going on.
Unless you implement a solution.
Yeah, none of zip, zot,
I was interested to see, I was interested actually to see an op-ed yesterday in the New York Times co-authored by Lindsey Graham of South Carolina and John Kerry of Massachusetts, because they are trying to take a bipartisan approach to the twin issues of climate change and energy independence. I was delighted to see them call for bipartisanship, and delighted as well to see them call for a recognition that both achieving energy independence and addressing climate change are equally important goals, and that if we do it right, we can create opportunity, we can create jobs, and we can create American leadership.
You have informally announced your interest is well documented in Senator Barbara Boxer's seat up next year. You were polling very, very well for a while, and then, of course, you were going into your cancer treatment, so you know, you had to deal with that, understandably. But in that interim, the man who likely opposed you, Republican Assemblyman Chuck DeVore, has almost broken even with you in those same polls as the likely Republican candidate. And you both trail Senator Boxer considerably. What do you think about that?
Well, first, I am currently exploring a run against Barbara Boxer, and I'm extremely encouraged by the support that I am getting. Secondly, as you point out, I have been absolutely quiet for almost 9 months while I was dealing with an important health issue. Third, I think the important item in all of the polls has been that Barbara Boxer cannot break, and in some cases cannot even approach 50%. Barbara Boxer is an extremely vulnerable senator because she hasn't done the job that the people of California elected her to do. And finally, if I move forward, I will move forward because I believe that it's important to achieve a change in the U.S. Senate, and that I have a chance of beating her. But we'll see. I think the important thing right now is that people need to hold accountable their elected representatives. I think that's what your previous guests were talking about.
Right.
Let's hold Washington accountable for the money they spend and how they spend it. And frankly, we don't even know how our money is being spent in Washington today. So one of the things I think we need to do a better job of is ask for transparency. Just tell me how you're spending the money and where you're spending it.
When it comes to business titans like yourself, dipping their toes in the political waters, Meg Whitman's running for governor of California. The only guy I could see has succeeded doing it is Michael Bloomberg. There might be other errant examples. Rockefeller just, of course, through inheritance of wealth and what have you. But it's a tough sledding, right? I mean, you're used to snapping orders at people and I want this done yesterday, and then you're dealing with a bunch of politicians who might not share your vigor here.
Yeah, first of all, I think it's a myth that CEOs can be effective just by snapping their fingers. You can't be. It doesn't matter what your title is. If you can't get people, I never scream. If you can't get people behind what you're trying to do, you're not going to get it done. But I would also remind you, Neil, that the professional politician is a modern invention and not a particularly good one. For 150 years in this country's history, people routinely moved in and out of private life and public service. And that's because people brought productive and experience to public service from private life. So the fact that we are so used to people like Barbara Boxer, who've been in politics for 30 years and have done nothing else, is a modern issue, and I don't think it's an improvement.
All right, we'll watch very closely. Glad you're feeling well. If you go through this political thing, you're going to be in a fight here. Carly, very good seeing you again.
Nice to see you, Neil. Thanks for having me.
By the way, we did put out a call to Senator Boxer's office, and they were not returned. All right, well, who says this is about President Obama? Why Republicans prefer making Nancy